everyone, and welcome to the Graceologie with Gwen Smith podcast. I'm Gwen Smith, and I'm so glad you joined me today. Around here, we have fun, faith-focused, grace-filled conversations, all to help you know and trust God more. Our discussions are honest, often humorous, and always practical, and they're going to encourage you in meaningful ways to live out and lean on the grace of Jesus in the midst of cluttered, messy days. You got any of those? I know I do, and I can't wait to get to today's conversation, which is all about getting your life back. Does that sound good? Sounds good to me. Listen, my guest today is the legendary and very wise John Eldredge. John's a husband, a father, a counselor, teacher, and president of Ransomed Heart. And he's the New York Times best-selling author of the book Wild at Heart. And he and I sat down for an incredible discussion about his brand new book, Get Your Life Back. The average American checks their phone 80 times a day. 70% keep it within reach while they sleep. In a culture constantly barraged by information at a frantic pace, it is no wonder why people feel numb and burned out. Do you know what I'm saying? The pace we force our souls to run is a breakneck speed that is totally outside God's original design, and it's one that consequently leaves us overwhelmed and feeling weary. Y'all, it is time to reclaim our lives. And John Eldredge joins me on this Graceologie episode to share some personal, powerful, and practical insights that are going to help you gain some traction with all of this and move your soul towards the healing and the hope that it is desperate for. John Eldredge, what an honor it is to have you on the Graceologie Podcast. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thanks, Gwen. It is a delight to be with you. Love your heart. Love what you're about.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm super excited to have you on the show today. And around here, we always start off with what's called a fast, fun favorites round to put my guests on a hot seat of sorts so that we can get to know you in what we like to call a girlfriendy kind of way. But I'm going to have to change that today to be kind of just a casual way. Okay?
Yeah, great.
All right, here we go. John, beach or mountain?
Mountains.
How do you like your burgers?
Medium rare.
Spender or saver?
Oh, spender.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Dark chocolate.
Love it. Okay, what is the first job you ever had?
I was a janitor in our church.
Fun. Okay, did you ever skip school as a kid?
Oh my gosh. I got kicked out of high school for skipping school.
No way.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, what is your favorite book besides the Bible?
Oh, not fair. Not fair. But I'll tell you what I'm reading right now. I went back to The Horse and His Boy, one of the Narnia books.
Yeah.
I love that book. It speaks to me because in the story of my life, I'm Shasta. I'm the orphan. And so, I'm reading it again for
That's
the
cool.
sixth time.
Well, plus you have horses, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, John, here's a question for you. It's kind of deep. Did Noah have woodpeckers on the ark? And if he did, where did he keep them?
Wow. Good question. Probably in the closet, but we won't draw any further allusions to that.
Okay. John, who was your first celebrity crush?
First, David Bowie.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at surfing?
5.
Okay. That's pretty impressive, actually. All right. So you wrote a famous book called Wild at Heart. What's the wildest thing you've ever done?
Oh, that we can't put that on the show here. How about the second wildest thing?
Second wildest is great.
So John Coulter was a guy that was on the Lewis and Clark expedition, and he got chased by the Shoshone. Or by the Sioux, rather. They stripped him, buck naked, and he had to run in the winter, dove in, hid in freezing water, hid in a beaver dam.
Oh.
And survived 3 days and then wandered into Jackson Hole. So my sons and I have this commitment. We call it the John Coulter, that wherever we are in the world, we jump buck naked into the freezing water. And so we were on vacation in Ireland, and we found these cliffs. And, it was kind of fairly touristy, but there was a place we could get to where we wouldn't be seen. Stripped, jumped off these cliffs we didn't know what the temperature of the water was.
Oh, no.
It was freezing. It was freezing.
Wow. I have never in the history of Graceology heard something so wild. So that was really fun.
You asked.
I did. I totally did. I set myself up for that. Besides what you just answered, John, what surprises people most about you?
I think that I love poetry and beauty and flowers, that I'm not just the hardcore wilderness guy.
Yeah. Cool. That's good. All right. And then the final question in your Fast Fun Favorites round is, John, who is your March Madness pick to win it all this year?
Oh, I'm sorry. I switched allegiances.
Uh-oh.
I used to be a huge Duke fan.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you switched allegiances.
Yeah.
Because I live in North Carolina, which we're not going to talk about Carolina basketball this year.
That. Okay.
Go ahead. Tell me your answer.
Well, no, here's the funny thing. So I was a March Madness addict for years. Absolute addict. I mean, I was the guy with the chicken wings in front of the TV all day. But I have recently become completely enchanted with British Premier Soccer.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I'm a Liverpool fan. Liverpool has not won the title in 30 years. They're going to win it this May.
Oh, my goodness.
So
you are speaking to my oldest son so bad. He literally, I think he's a Chelsea fan. Honestly, soccer's like not my thing. So
yeah, Chelsea's had a good run.
Okay. Well, he's going to be very thrilled to hear this. So okay, but you don't have a March Madness pick is what you're telling me?
No, I don't. I'm out of touch this year.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you're no longer a Duke fan. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to get emails about this, but that's okay.
All right.
Well, that was fun. I always have fun in my Fast Fun Favorites round, but you kind of took it to another level, John. So this is epic. You guys, I love connecting with our Graceology community so much. I've got an exciting schedule of spring events coming up and would love to meet you in person. Over the next few months, I'm going to be in Iowa, Arizona, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and West Virginia. So if you're near any of these states, click on the link in the show notes or swing over to gwensmith.net and find my schedule page to learn more about an event close to you. All right, so for the sake of my Graceology community, would you go ahead now and introduce yourself kind of more in the professional and formally, who's John kind of way?
Well, so I'm an author and have been for about 20 years. I'm a therapist, live here in Colorado, and we have a ministry called Ransomed Heart. What we primarily do is heal hearts. We, through our podcast, our films, mostly through our live retreats, we do these 4-day experiences for men and 4-day experiences for women, really focused around healing memories, healing childhood trauma, becoming more wholehearted people. Mm-hmm. That's what we are really excited about, is for ourselves and then also for others to see folks become wholehearted.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. One of the missions that I saw you really say is your general mission on your website is that your hope is to change the face of Christianity. Is that what you mean with these healing retreats? I mean, no, what do you mean by that, John?
Oh, my goodness. They put that on the website? Who put that on the website? Oh, my team, my ambitious team.
I'm like, what do you mean you want to change the face of Christianity? This is awesome.
Well, so most people who don't know how wonderful Jesus is have pretty creepy religious associations with him. And they don't realize that he's real and he's wonderful, and that he can be so deeply involved in their lives. And so the enemy knew years and years and years ago, the enemy knew he couldn't stop Christianity. And so he created religion to give people a brilliant counterfeit. And you have all these religions all around the world kind of talking to people about God, saying just enough God words to make it feel like they're in the right place. But they don't know Jesus. They don't experience him personally. So, yeah, it cracks me up that my team has put that on the website. I better go deal with that.
You know what, though? Your answer is spot on, and it's very meaningful. And so I'm thrilled that they put it on there just so that we could talk about that, because I really believe that the message of Get Your Life Back, which is your brand new book, which I want to talk about today, it really embodies this. It is not about religion, and it is not about the chains that, that can bring to our life. It's about the true beauty, the release, the freedom, the healing, the wholeness that is available to each of us in Christ. And so in that regard, you might want to leave it on, but
yeah.
So I do want to talk about this new book. It's called Get Your Life Back. The subtitle for my listeners is Everyday Practices for a World Gone Mad. And I do have to say right off the bat, John, that this is going to hit all of my Graceology girls right smack dab between the eyes, because I know personally, and I know that my listeners, we deal with the swirling whirl of a crazy world gone mad all the time. And we're trying to rein it in, per se. And that's why I was so excited to just kind of hear your heart on these practices and to actually share this with my Graceology community. And so I want to ask you kind of, where did the book come from? Why did you write it? And what's the story behind it?
Yeah, that's a good question, Gwen, because I actually didn't intend to write it. I burned out about 2 years ago. And I wasn't, having an affair, and I didn't blow up the ministry, and I didn't embezzle millions, but I was not well. My soul just felt so shallow and dry. And I love life. I love God. I love people. I'm normally a very passionate person about whatever I'm doing. Whether it's family vacation or we're deep in the work of healing a human soul. But I'd lost that. And I knew it was the pace of life. It was the whole technology thing. It was too much information. It was all of it. It was the dog pile. And so I simply began to ask God, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of the craziness? I'm running so hard, doing really important things. It's always important.
Yes.
But I said, Jesus, this can't be the life that you have for me. I just look at the fruit of it and I go, the fruit's not good. And so no intention to write a book. I just began to make some 2-degree shifts, just began to make some changes that allowed me to be a human being again. And that's kind of the core of this, sort of like the assault on our humanity and just letting myself be human again.
Yeah.
And it worked. Like it's working. It's working. And so I started sharing with my family, and then I started sharing with my friends. I'm like, you got to try this. And then it became apparent that, this would be helpful actually to a lot of folks. So then the book happened really as an afterthought.
Right. I know that even as you say that, I'm, reflecting on the things that leave me on any given day feeling shallow in the soul and empty and worn out and just exhausted. So what specific things, you mentioned pace of life and technology, what are the things have you seen in your research of this, in being a Christian counselor and dealing with men and women at these retreats? What are you seeing that is the root cause of all of this in current life as we know it?
Well, I think the root cause is the collective momentum. It's the collective momentum of the world, because technology was supposed to give us all this margin, right? And we were going to be able to garden again, or, take up an instrument or paint or whatever. But what happened is we are trying to keep up with the pace of technology. You open the door to the world and, the email that comes in, the text, the posts and the news and all of that. And we're trying to keep pace with it like responsible adults, right?
Yeah.
But the collective momentum of all of that, the complexity of people's lives, the amount of demands sucks us into a pace of life, a way of living that no one's enjoying. But it was actually Nicholas Carr's book, The Shallows, What the Internet's Doing to Our Brains, that got my attention. Just the title. I'm like, yep, that's it. I feel shallow. And what he reveals in that book, it's a pretty heavy read. He almost won the Pulitzer for it, but I can just summarize it for you. What he discovers through all this research is that our consumption of media, the way we consume information now, is literally fragmenting our attention, our ability to give anything our attention. And so we lose focus very, very quickly.
Yes.
And need to be, therefore, entertained by or interested by or have our focus captured by the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing, the next thing. And what that does is it really unsettles the soul. Like your soul is never grounded. Your soul is never in a place of rest. It's just this constant, fragmented attention existence. And I'm like, that's it. That's me. I totally fell into that, and it wears you out.
It does. It does. It's interesting because when you think of the pace of life and the things that you were saying with, all of this media and social media that fragments our attention, I often think of those rabbit holes that I get, I will chase in 2 seconds. I think of them as affecting my time and sucking away my time. And I don't even recognize, I guess this is a fresh awareness for me that the damage it does not only to my time and my efficiency and my focus, but to my soul.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a difference.
Yep, because you go read the older saints, you're starting back like with the Desert Fathers, and they would say to you that our transformation, our becoming like Christ, the healing of our humanity begins with being able to give God our attention.
Yes.
Right? Just being able to give him our attention. And even this morning, it's like confession. I sit down to pray and I can give it my attention for about 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then I find myself distracted by this, that, and the other thing. Now, I can choose not to go there. Don't pick up your phone. Don't pick up your phone. I can choose that. But nonetheless, I'm aware of the effect of living in this world, in this particular hour that we live in. Mm-hmm. It's crazy making.
It is. It totally is. In fact, as you say that, I'm nodding my head, of course, as I know that my Graceologie community is as well. They're going, yes, Brother John, yes, for sure. It's a total struggle. And, there's evidence that, us clicking on the apps is addictive and it gives us the serotonin rush and all the things that make us want to constantly be distracted, which is obviously not God's best for us. One thing I did find on your website that is a gem, John, was a daily prayer that you wrote out. It was 10.5 minutes long. And when I clicked on it, literally you took the time to do an audio recording of this prayer that was so profound that I literally sat myself down, shut my eyes, and pressed play. I am going to put a link to that in the show notes so that all my listeners can just have that as a resource. And I thank you for doing that, because the distractions of exactly what you're saying can become so overwhelming that we miss the beautiful all around us.
Yeah, we really do. It's like I said, you don't get to be human anymore. All the things that bring us life. And these were part of the symptoms, Gwen. When I saw that I was not doing well, here's what I noticed. I noticed that I used to read a lot more, and I wasn't reading anymore. And I used to love to just take walks, just take the dogs for a walk. And I wasn't walking anymore. And I started looking at all these things. I'm like, wow, you used to love listening to music. You hardly listen to music anymore. It is robbing us of the things that give us life. And then we wonder why we're empty. and particularly God, and God coming to us through all these wonderful things, like you said, just the beauty around us.
Yeah. So you get really practical. I love that about your book, Get Your Life Back, because it's not just, high in the sky, we should do this. It's here's how. And I'm so about practical around here with my Graceologie community. So we definitely recognize that we have a big old problem. It's the swirling pace of life problem. And so in your pursuit of this and in what you've written in this book, I would love for you to unpack some of the main practices that my listeners can maybe even put into practice today. What are some of the lessons God's shown you and the practices that you've put into place in order to address this problem in your life and in ours?
Yeah. So Jesus is kind, and he doesn't put really huge steps in front of us that we just can't do. Here's where he took me. He took me to the 1 minute pause.
Yeah. 1
minute. And what I realized was I never stop during my day. I go from phone call to phone call, meeting to meeting, getting across town. But even when I'm in my car, I'm listening to something. I've got the news on, or I'm catching up on podcasts, and I never stop. And stopping is actually built into the human soul. The Hebrew word for Sabbath, Shabbat, actually simply means stop. It just means cease. And there's a need for the human soul, for the human body, to cease, to stop, to pause. I never pause. So Jesus took me to the 1 minute pause. And it sounds so simple. You're like, how can that be effective? But gang, it is going to blow your mind how wonderful it is. So a couple times a day, particularly when I'm finding myself really spun up. So when I catch myself and I'm not, oh, wow, I am really spun up into the day, I will pause and I will take 60 seconds and just do nothing. Like, don't make lists, don't frame the next email, don't think about what I'm supposed to do tomorrow. Nothing.
Yeah.
Just pause. And when I get home in the evening and I pull in the driveway, turn off the ignition, but then I just sit there and I let the day go. I just let it all go. And that way, when I walk in the door in the evening, I'm present to the people that I love. I'm not spun up. I'm not distracted. I'm not still thinking about that last phone call or that last meeting. A 1 minute pause.
Yeah. Hey friends, Gwen here. I want to talk to you about Bible study. Here's what I know for sure. Everything about your relationship with God will grow stronger when you're intentional to get to know Him more intimately by studying His Word. And the thing is, it doesn't take that long to open your Bible up every day and read. When you have a plan and a community to connect with, Bible study becomes more routine and faith becomes more authentic. But you've got to take the time to prioritize studying the Bible so that you can move forward growing in faith and experience the power, perspective, and peace that God provides and that we all want. Your relationship with the Lord grows stronger when you spend regular time in the Word. And I want to show you how to establish a simple and effective process for studying the Bible. I have a free online Bible study that'll show you exactly how to get started. I'm going to walk you through how to study the Bible using an inductive method that can be done in the comfort of your own home and in a time frame that fits with your personal schedule, even if you've never done a Bible study before in your life. Go to gwensmith.net/psalmadventure. That's gwensmith.net/psalmadventure to sign up for my free online Bible study. And I promise you'll walk away with a clear understanding of how to get started with a personal inductive Bible study plan. Don't wait. Everything about your relationship with God will grow stronger when you're intentional to know and trust Him more by studying the Bible. One of the biggest blessings to me as a podcast host on the Graceologie show here, John, is getting to, be in the moment with these messages that God is laying on the heart of people. And one of the blessings of your book, it was to find out about your 1 Minute Pause app. And so for the past several weeks, I downloaded it, and I'm going to make that a clickable resource on the show notes page for all of my Graceologie community, y'all, because you need to get this app. And it's so fun to hear your voice because you're on the app.
Yes.
I'm like, there's my friend John. He helps me pause. Yes. So it's been a blessing to me. And so this practice, I know you're saying it sounds simple, and honestly, it totally does. But for me, because tech is so integrated with my life and the norm, I have 2 reminders set for 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. for my 1 minute pause. And then I love that it gives me options for 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute pause. And John, that has helped me so much. So I 1000% want my Graceologie community to benefit from this practice. Y'all, it is simple, but I promise you start to implement this just to be still. I mean, it echoes the heart of God with his call for us to come to him when we're weary, when we are heavy laden, but just to be still, before him. So yeah, so that is a huge practice. And again, I will put a link to that in the show notes for all y'all in my Graceologie community who might be driving or washing dishes or putting something in the oven. It's all good. I got you, girl. Go to the show notes at gwensmith.net/Graceologie. Find my episode with John Eldredge, and we will make sure that you can download that app and have the links to everything we're talking about. So, John, that 1 minute practice for me has been a blessing.
Isn't it a rescue?
It's so awesome. It is.
It's amazing what a rescue it is.
I have not only shared it with my best friends, I've texted it to them. I'm like, because it gives you an option in the app, share this. And I'm like, of course. And then one of my best friends put it on Facebook yesterday with a challenge to everyone in her Facebook community. And my besties and I have been going back and forth. And I even did the reminder. I'm like, okay, just reminding you guys to get the Pause app. And then now we started talking about it even as a community of girlfriends, because iron sharpens iron. We want to spur one another on towards wellness. And I love that the heart of this is healing your soul, because it's really not something we talk a lot about.
Yeah. Well, that was the big epiphany for me, because back into my burnout. So I was looking for God. I was praying. Yeah. I was doing the normal things. I was reading scripture. I was worshiping, but it wasn't working. And what I came to realize as a therapist, I'm always fascinated to watch what's going on in my internal world, because I know that will help other people with their internal world. Yeah. And here's the revelation I came to. The soul is the vessel that God fills. The soul is the way that you receive God. Psalm 23, he restores my soul. God comes to us inside, primarily. John 7, streams of living water are going to flow from your inmost being. But the revelation was that if our soul is cooked, burnt, if our soul is as dry as a desert, you actually can't receive the grace that God is trying to give to you. Because the instrument's broken, that part of you that is meant to be filled with the presence of God is shriveled up, like a raisin. And so if we would take care of our souls, if we would begin to just practice some kindness and do some really simple things to care for our souls, then what happens is your soul begins to do better. You begin to open up. It's like a clenched fist. Your fist begins to open, and then your hands are open to receive God and all that he is bringing to you, the love or the beauty or the play or the laughter or, all the things that enrich our lives in him and through him. So the soul is the issue in the hour. And the world that we live in right now is perfectly designed to absolutely bake your soul. I mean, just cook it. And so, that's when I began to like push back and say, you can't do this to me anymore.
Yeah.
You can't have my soul.
Oh, I love it. So let's talk some soul care then. You give some really great, simple practices in this book. One we just talked about, the 1-minute pause. There are several others. I'm going to list a few of them here, and I'd love for you just to unpack that in a way that my Graceology girls can actually like have a handlebar on this. So another one of the practices is benevolent detachment. Then practicing kindness, like you just mentioned. Getting outside. Okay, that one changed me. You really challenged me on that too. And then stepping back from technology. So those are a few of the practices. What is benevolent detachment and why is it necessary?
I think that caring people at this point don't realize that we actually have empathy overload. We are aware of way too much, whether it's, the fires in Australia or the latest, shooting, the impeachment hearings, the we're aware of too much. And the human soul is actually never meant to carry all that. Now, you have these invitations in Scripture. You have like 1 Peter 5, where he says, cast all of your cares upon the Lord because he cares for you. And, for years, I didn't understand that verse. It's lovely. I love the sound of it, but I couldn't do it. And it wasn't until I learned, Jesus just began to say to me, John, just do this. Just give everyone and everything to me right now. Yeah. And I can use the pause to do that because I'm not asking myself to do it for the rest of my life. I'm not even asking my soul to do it for a whole day. I'm just saying, in this moment, I give everyone and everything to you. And this is actually how Jesus loves. The extraordinary stories in the Gospels are the number of times Jesus walks away from human need. In the opening chapter of Mark, the crowds are building and excitement's growing, and the disciples wake up in the morning and the whole town is at the door, but they can't find Jesus. Mm-hmm. And so they go, it says he was off in a lonely place praying, and they find him and they say, Lord, everyone's looking for you. Okay, can we all just relate to that for a minute?
Exactly.
Everyone's looking for you, Yeah. And here's what Jesus says. He says, well, then let's leave. And you're like, what? How can that be love? Wait. And the beautiful thing is that love is not constrained by the drama. Love is free of the drama. It just is able to operate really outside of it. So the way we get there is the pause, and the way we get there is to practice just giving it all over. I give everyone and everything to you, God. Yeah. Bedtime is a really great time to do this too, by the way. If you want to sleep well,
Totally. The situation you were just referring to in Mark chapter 6, at the very end, that you're saying Jesus is like, let's get out of here. It is. That's what he says. He says, come away with me to a quiet place where we can find some rest. And it's like, there is that beautiful invitation. I'm a songwriter, and I actually wrote a song about that very exact scenario years ago called Sacred Place. And it's a sacred invitation to rest. And that's exactly what you're saying is there is this opportunity that we have. It's really a momentary surrender and that giving back where we can experience room to breathe.
Yeah, exactly. And what Augustine was explaining years ago was you have to empty yourself of everything that's currently cluttering your soul if you want to be filled with God. Yeah. Like something's got to go. It's like a crowded closet. We have some dear friends, and she's laid a law down to her husband. She says, if anything new comes in, something goes out. So if you bring a jacket in, a jacket goes out. At some point, you just can't keep adding to the intake. At some point, you got to let it all go. So a couple times a day, you just stop and you just say, Jesus, I give it all to you. I give everyone and everything to you. And it's a very simple thing, but you're going to be delighted with the results.
Yeah. So I 1000% agree. And I wonder what role, one of the things you talk about is beauty and the impact of beauty on our soul. What is the connection that you found between beauty and the outdoors and the healing of your soul? Because that actually surprised me. It's not that it surprised me. It wasn't a practice or a discipline that I considered something that would engage my soul in healing, but it was so amazing.
Exactly, right? It's one of those things that's right there in front of us. God saturated the world with beauty.
Yeah.
Epic and intimate. It's the frost on your windshield. It's the rainy streets at night. It's candlelight. It's music. It's the way the sun comes through your kitchen window in the morning. Like, it is all around us. Beauty is all around us. You don't have to go to Paris or Hawaii. It's right here, because he knew beauty heals trauma. Beauty heals the human soul. And there's some fabulous research on this, but basically it's because, this is fascinating, Gwen. Why do we send flowers to people who are in the hospital? Why do we send flowers to someone who is grieving? Isn't that fascinating? It's like we know.
Now that you bring it up, I'm like, oh my goodness. Wow.
We know it intuitively that it brings hope. Beauty speaks hope. It says everything's going to be okay. Beauty speaks of the goodness of God. Beauty speaks that evil doesn't get to win. Beauty is this wonderful reassurance of goodness all around us. But here's the practice, is most people will see it and they'll go, oh, wow, that's a really pretty sunrise. And then they're just, they're gone in the next moment. Here's what I'm suggesting, is that you literally receive it. You receive it for the gift it is. I'll say, thank you for this beautiful moment. I receive it into my soul. I receive the beauty into my soul. And then you can let it do its healing work. So you just linger just a moment. And, I'm not saying this is 15 minutes in front of a flower. It's just a moment where you go, that rose bush is extraordinary. You pause and you let it in. Let it minister to your soul. And then once you start doing this, gang, like, you fill your life with beauty. Like, have music on in the house, get flowers in the kitchen, like, hang artwork, do everything you can. Fill your world with beauty because it is so nourishing to the soul.
Wow. This is awesome. This is so deep. And it's something that doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where you've come from, what you've gone through. Every single one of us can have our eyes open to the beauty around us that God gifts us with moment by moment. And it can heal us.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's coming to you all the time, gang.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing you talk about in the book, and that I believe is a big part of your practice, is meditation. Now, I read my Bible, and all throughout the Psalms, the psalmist says, I meditate on your works. I consider your wonders, Lord. And it is clearly a biblical pretense, but there are some people who get weirded out by the word meditation and by the very thought of it. So how is this a part of your faith, and why do you feel like it's important?
Well, first, let's come back to the assault on your attention. So all day long, your attention is being assaulted. It's the last piece of real estate that's up for grabs in the world, and everyone's trying to grab it. So it's not just your phone. It's now it's digital billboards and it's push notifications, and you go to the gas station and the gas pumps have TVs now and start playing commercials at you.
Crazy.
It's like you can't get away from it. It's just constant. Even the digital boards outside of schools now, right? They're advertising this meeting and that thing and this, that, and that. Okay, so there's this assault on our attention. Back to the idea of the saints saying, well, if you want transformation, if you want wholeness, if you want restoration, you have to be able to give God your attention. So the idea of Psalm 1, that giving God your lingering attention, I can give you my attention, says that you will be like a tree planted by streams of living water, and that your leaves won't wither. You will be evergreen. And so the idea of like a meditative thing is simply to say, can you give anything at this time, anything, your lingering attention? The song that you were talking about sacred space, can you just listen to it and do nothing else?
Yeah.
The beauty that we were just speaking of, the songbirds that you're hearing out your window in the evening, can you just give that lingering attention? Because God will meet you there.
Yeah.
But especially the scriptures, especially being able to just linger with a verse, linger with a paragraph, and let it do its thing. Like, let it heal you.
Yeah.
That's the fight now. The fight is to get our attention back.
Yeah. I love that. And that's, you know what, I believe that's a gift to my Graceologie community. And I believe that everyone's taking a deep breath. And that's part of the pause app. The pause app is actually leads you in deep breath in, deep breath out.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's part of, the gift of this conversation, John, and the gift of this book, Get Your Life Back, because sometimes we don't even realize that it's like, it's being controlled by all of the things and all of the busy and activity in our lives. And so this is beautiful. So in these practices, I want to what are a couple of the really, besides, okay, so take a walk, linger in the moment, listen, pay attention to the beauty. What are some other things that my Graceologie girls can be doing today to impact not only their own souls, but their families and those in their workplace?
Yeah. So obviously, in the technology world, let's just get some simple practices going. So nobody gets to bring their phone to dinner. We're going to be human beings at dinner.
Yes.
And nobody gets to take their phone into their bedroom. If you've got teenage kids, it's like you can be on your phone, but you got to be out here in the living room. So that you take back some human space in the house.
Wow.
Don't take your phone into your bedroom at night. Don't look at screens as the last thing you do, because it messes up your sleep. But especially, don't look at your phone first thing in the morning. Make a cup of coffee. Take 10 minutes. Look out the window. Say some prayers. Like, you don't have to go straight to the phone. And if you'll model that for your kids, that's just going to be huge. If like, hey, we get to be human again. We get to do real things and not get lost in the artificial world. So that would be a piece. Now, here's a fun one, Gwen, because most of your community are probably pretty good daydreamers. I'm guessing that during the day you find yourself suddenly thinking about, such and such.
Going to Aruba. What?
Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing. One of the gifts that God has given us is the gift of memory, because beautiful moments pass too quickly. They just fly by. And so even if you had a really rich Christmas this last year, or maybe you had your 5th anniversary, or, birthdays, or it was that wonderful vacation you had 2 years ago where you did get to Aruba. The problem is it's gone. Yeah. It passes too quickly, but God gave us memory to go back. Use your memory to go back to times that really nourished your soul. Like your favorite places. Oh, it's the shore, or it's my grandparents' cabin, or, well, go back there. Yeah. Go back there in your memory for a few moments and receive the gift again. Because there was so much gift in that moment, and it all passed so quickly, you actually haven't mined it for all that it had to give you. So as we're having this chat right now, I'm looking on my computer screen, and there's a huge picture of the Tetons. And the Tetons has a massive history in our family. We've taken the boys camping there ever since they were tiny. And I can look at this picture, and I'm there. And I hear the laughter. I remember the canoe trip. I remember swimming in the lake. And again, we're talking 3 minutes. These aren't massive intrusions. These are little rescues in your day that nourish the soul. I can just look at a picture or listen to a song, something to take me back into a moment. So daydream away, girls.
I love it. I love it. That's terrific. And that's something, again, it doesn't matter whether you're healthy or struggling with health challenges. It doesn't matter whether you're single, married, divorced, anything. We all, every single one of us, have beautiful memories in our lives. And to be able to recount those and to just consider them and to use that as a time for reflection, as a gift from God, as a place that can nourish our souls. And then the boundaries we can establish. We get to set the pace and the temperature in our home and in our lives. The no phones at dinner, the no phones in the bedroom, the no phones or screens before sleep. John, you're just like stepping all over my toes about that one. But the first thing in the morning, all of these things, all of these practices, the 1 minute pause, the getting outside, listening. There's so many ways that our souls are drying up and withering on the vine in life as we know it, ladies. So this is a topic that we really need to address on the personal level. John, I am deeply grateful that you really leaned in to listen to the Spirit of God leading you to write this book. I believe it's going to edify and nourish the body of Christ so much. And it's going to help all of us just to reconnect deeply with the heart of God. I'm grateful. Would you take a moment now just to lead my Graceology community right to the foot of the beautiful one?
Yeah, let's do. And what we're going to use this prayer for is to let it all go. We're going to take a moment to let it go. Yes. So here's how it goes. Jesus, just pause. Jesus, begin to turn your heart toward him. Jesus, I give everyone and everything to you. And as you pray that, you know exactly what it is. People's faces are coming to mind, conversations you regret, emails you're supposed to send. It just, Jesus, I give everyone and everything to you so that I can have more of you right now. I need more of you, God. I need your love. I need your life. I need to be one with you. I really do. Fill my soul. Heal my soul. Heal my attention. Jesus, I give everyone and everything to you so that I can have you. Amen.
Amen. The book is Get Your Life Back: Everyday Practices for a World Gone Mad. And my guest has been John Eldredge. John, it has been so wonderful having you on the Graceology show today. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, I loved it. Gwen. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. What's the best place where my community can connect with you online?
You know, if you just Google John Eldredge, you'll find us. Our ministry is Ransomed Heart. We have a website, and there's a podcast, and there's the live events that we were talking about and the other things that we do.
Perfect. Well, I will have links to John's website, to the book, to conversation notes from today, to all of the things at the show notes page, which will be at gwensmith.net/Graceology. Find my episode with John Eldredge, and we will hook you up. John, again, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a great day, Gwen.
You too. Wow, guys, that was really special. I hope that you enjoyed today's conversation with John Eldredge. I know I did. Be sure to visit him online and connect with him on social media as well, and get a copy of that book. Today's show was edited by Chad Shuping, and the music was by PremiumBeat.com. If your church hosts women's events, or if you have questions, comments, or topic suggestions, you know I love hearing from you. Send me a message or a speaking inquiry right from my website at gwensmith.net. All of the links and the show notes from today's episode can be found at gwensmith.net/Graceology. That's gwensmith.net/Graceology. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, if you haven't already subscribed to the Graceologie with Gwen Smith podcast, I want you to open up your podcast app right now and click that subscribe button. Subscriptions and reviews on iTunes or whatever podcast app you listen on really make a difference to those of us who are working hard to bring these shows. And subscribing means you will not miss a thing. Also, be sure to connect with me on social media. I'm at Gwen Smith Music on every platform and especially love hanging out over on Instagram. And the show is at Graceologie with an IE on every platform as well. Now get out there and have a beautiful grace-filled day.